freeschoolsradionetwork.com. We are going live on YouTube. We are live on YouTube. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the moment no one's been waiting for. We're going live on Facebook Live. It's saying starting live video. The live video has begun. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are you? Good evening. It is a Saturday night in America. It's Saturday night. It's not Saturday night in the whole world. In the world, it's either Sunday or Friday. But I don't know how that works. But it is a Saturday night here in Arizona. It is 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Tonight is what we call our special, our comedy, our big Saturday night comedy jubilee. That doesn't mean that I tell you more jokes that are necessarily funny. That's just what we call it. This is a special edition of our show, Living on a Thin Line. We bring it to you every other day, Monday through Friday and Sunday at 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We hope it's your daily distraction from a lot of the stress and worries and woes that are going on right now on planet Earth. It is for me, I'll be perfectly frank, to be able to connect with those of you that I am able to connect with through this medium does my heart cheer, and I enjoy it very much. So we decided Saturday night would be kind of special, so we would dress up a little bit for our Saturday night. So I got on this jacket, which I don't know if I'm going to keep. I had it on. Shirley goes, I don't know about the jacket. And then I go, and then I went, oh, you know what? Like any petulant schoolboy, I'm wearing the jacket. I think it gives me a Henry Hill look. Henry Hill from Goodfellas. That whole kind of, look at that. That's pretty sharp looking right there. Also, check it out. I mean, we went whole hog. Okay. Cufflinks. Do you see them? Cufflinks. All right. I've always struggled with cufflinks. I own several pair. I went through phases where I bought stuff like that. So who we got on right now? We got Vince Ramirez on. Look, Vince, look, cufflinks. All right. We got Randy Omo on. We got Lauren Molliver on. We got Sandy DePerna Phillips, LC Manning. A lot of great people. Lauren Molliver says he and his wife are playing mahjong. That is good. I am so happy. We followed Lauren's journey. Lauren, who splits time between Canada and Arizona, Scottsdale, and I believe Calgary with his lovely wife, then found she was up there and there weren't any flights in, and he drove nonstop, I think practically nonstop from Scottsdale home, and then stayed in quarantine for 14 days. They got a nice house, I believe, with enough room that they were in separate areas of the house. And now they're together. You guys are one of the good stories of the Corona situation. So it's Saturday night. We got some great people here. Sandy DePerna Phillips, my very first road agent, a woman who I love. I can't describe my feelings for Sandy. Just absolutely fantastic. We got a couple people popping on who were on, and Dickie Palmer is watching. Hello, Dickie. Now, Dickie Palmer is a guy that I knew from my road comedy days. Sandy DePerna Phillips used to book us into something called the Comedy Zone Creative Entertainment Gigs. And Dickie and I did a couple gigs back in the 80s and have got that road bond. We were talking about what that is exactly, that being a comic, being a road comic, as I was, as Dickie was, it's the closest you get in the modern era to the Old West, where you're just riding your horse along the plains and it's empty for miles, but off in the distance you see someone else riding a horse coming to you. And then about a quarter mile away, you go, Ray, is that you? Jeb, is that you? Well, I ain't seen you since Abilene. No, I saw you that time you shot me in Omaha. Well, I'm sorry about that. I was drunk. Well, you be good. And then they just ride their separate ways. But they always feel that they'll see one another again. Used to work on the road with guys. Wouldn't see them for a couple of years. Boom, book together. You pick right up like you'd seen him yesterday. That's the way it was when I talked to Dickie Palmer today. Great man. Wonderful guy. So what do we got going tonight, ladies and gentlemen? I got a couple things because it's a Saturday night special. I got a new bobblehead. That's right. I know. I said we were done with bobbleheads. Now, I promised you three things tonight. I promised you the Booyah Mac Daddy of my autograph collection. And I also said we would always do our recommendation of 2 albums. And I would tell you my Steve Jones Sex Pistols story. Okay, so I'm going to do those things. Let me adjust my mic. It's down a little low. And the reason it's down a little low is because if you look on my Facebook page and you scroll down, you'll see me sitting in what looks like some sort of studio. And all that is our bedroom. And my wife, Shirley, who is also the producer of the show, created an entire studio for us last night. And we did our very first ever Zoom show, Class Clowns Comedy Showcase, up to 60. We didn't invite a lot of people. We were testing it out up to 60, 65 people I hosted the show. I had a lot of great comics on the show, so many to mention. Randy and DJ and Abhinav and Travis and John Abraham and Fred Scott and David John. And I know I'm missing some now. And they all worked together for the last few Wednesdays through this crazy first section of our Corona time. And even though it was maddening and crazy as we went from you can meet, you can't meet, you can meet privately, you can't meet privately, we still put together a fantastic show for everyone. We are in the process right now of setting up regular shows, regular stand-up comedy shows on other social media platforms that you're going to be able to attend. I'm not ready to tell you about them today because I don't have all the bells and whistles worked out. But when I do, you're going to know about it. You'll be able to see some great comics and get some live, immediate, new entertainment. You know, the good thing about these guys, I've watched some, and they're doing yeoman's work, the late night talk show people, the Saturday Night Live people. They're battling a couple things. They're battling the fact that for years they walked in and it was like they were totally catered to, which you should be if you're going to be the major successful host of a late night talk show that generates millions of dollars of income for your broadcast network. But they were also in that shell shock situation. Go, wow, how do we do this by ourselves in our house with a cell phone? For these guys that I'm working with now, that's not really the case. They are new and they're used to working under difficult circumstances. Like, hey, the mic went out. Hey, there's no lights. Hey, there's a biker sitting there with a gun. So they're used to dealing with a lot of adversity in their performance, and they put on a great show for the people that watch. There was the Class Clowns Comedy Showcase show. Within a week to 10 days, but within a couple of days, I'll be announcing it. We'll have some live Zoom shows that you'll be able to purchase and attend. But I just want to say thank you to all the comics that were on that show last night. I don't know if anybody's got anything to say. I just got folks watching. If you got anything you want to talk about? Here we go. I'm getting these things here right now. So there we go. There we go. Hello, Alfonso. Jose Gonzalez watching me from right across the street. Okay, Martinez Alvera. Hello, David Facey watching from Canada, I think. Are you still in Canada? Steve Shortbus, one of my favorite people. The Uptons are watching. Paul and Senior. Shirley Visick is watching from right across the room. We're getting a great crowd here. Let's talk about I built this show around a couple things, and I don't want to keep belaboring it for people that watch all the time, but we show you some sort of little knickknack or memorabilia that we have here in the house, and then recommend 2 albums from our vinyl collection. So I'm going to give you a little special stuff tonight because I said we were done with bobbleheads, but nope. Got one. Check it out. Check it out. Check it out, YouTube fans. Check it out. Can you make out that name? Can you make out that name, Facebook friends? That's right. Shortbus says, I look like Mr. Feeney. I don't know who Mr. Feeney is. I'm sure that it's a jab. But thank you for saying I look like anybody. It's okay to look like anyone right now when you could look like no one at all. Who is Mr. Feeney? That, ladies and gentlemen, is a Paul Goldschmidt bobblehead. That's right. Mr. Arizona Diamondback for so many years, great ball player, oftentimes the only great ball player on some challenge teams. Great man, great guy, and recently was traded to my St. Louis Baseball Cardinals. So I got 2 reasons to like Paul Goldschmidt, and I got 2 reasons to have a Paul Goldschmidt bobblehead ball, and it's because, you know what it looks like too? Oh, wow. See, I bought this at a like a little knickknack shop, and what we can notice here is going, why is he standing like that? The bat is broken out of his hand. So this bobblehead is almost like one of those Roman statues where they don't have any arms because the arms fell off. How cool is that? So that's your bobblehead for Saturday night. Now, the autograph that I promised I'd show you, the memorabilia that I have right now. Oh. Before I go on, I want to mention something. Not only I get a chance to talk to old friend Diggy Palmer today, I also got this a very funny man, Diggy Palmer. I also got to talk to very funny man, John Wing, one of the funniest people I ever met, one of the driest, most acerbic senses of humor you will ever witness. You should Google or YouTube him. You will enjoy him very, very much. And he has a podcast, and I'm going to put the link on my Facebook page tonight after the show. It's called The Bad Piano Player. And John, being the kind of man he is, it's a podcast solely dedicated to music from the 20s, 30s, and 40s. It's a podcast solely dedicated to music from the 20s, 30s, and 40s, and I love that. It's called The Bad Piano Player. It's on Spotify, my good friend John Wing. All right, are you ready for the autograph? Yes. Are you ready to see what we've got here in autograph land? Someone just say yes. Someone just type yes. Let me see a yes from somebody here. If I say, are we ready? What I'm saying is the big dog in my autograph collection. Are you ready? Because if no one types yes, I'm not going to show it, YouTube people. YouTube people, we are waiting for the Facebook people to say yes. They want to see the autograph. But so far, let's see now. I feel like an auctioneer. There we go. Craig Jacobson says yes. Tina and Mike Lawson say yes. All right. We're getting the yeses. Here it goes. It's kind of big. It's kind of bulky. Here we go. Look at that. YouTube fans, check that out. Okay? It's kind of hard to say, but you know who that is. That, ladies and gentlemen, is an autographed picture of Robert Plant and Jimmy Page, Led Zeppelin, Plant and Page. Autographed Led Zeppelin, Plant and Page. How very cool is that? That is the Booyah Mac Daddy. That is the major stuff. Look at that. Now, I bought that at an auction. I actually bought that at an auction. That wasn't one like my Mick Fleetwood one. My brother got it for me, or even the Jerry Rice and the Glenn Campbell with Josh McDermott got for me. But Jimmy Page and Robert Plant, Led Zeppelin was such a major, impactful band throughout the late 60s, early 70s. You know how Led Zeppelin got their name? Was someone mentioned to, gosh darn it, it might have been Jeff Beck when they told him that that Jimmy Page was forming a band. He might call it the New Yardbirds. They were going to call the Led Zeppelin the New Yardbirds, and that he was going to have Robert Plant as the lead singer. And I believe it was Jeff Beck went, well, that'll go over like a Led Zeppelin. And Jimmy Page heard it and went, all right, then, here we are. We are Led Zeppelin. So I never met anybody in Led Zeppelin. I met their road manager a long time ago. Great guy, larger-than-life guy. Not Peter Grant. That was a different guy. This is a different road manager. So large and impactful. Their music changed things. For many years, Jimmy Page was the guy who you wanted to play like. All the way up till Eddie Van Halen, by the way, many guitarists tell me. Personally, I think with Eddie Van Halen and guys like Steve Vai, and especially Steve Vai, they kind of maybe did some damage to rock guitar fundamentals because they were just all about speed and action, and it wasn't really connected to the melody of the song. Led Zeppelin was a very blues-based song. Matter of fact, they did a lot of great blues songs. As a matter of fact, early on, they did not credit the writers of those blues songs. And a lot of people attacked them for that. And there may have been a wide variety of reasons for it. They may not have known it. A bunch of, skinny, malnourished kids from England still suffering from the vagaries of World War II. As Keith Richards talked about, he goes, why are you guys all so skinny? He goes, because we grew up starving because there was no food because of the war and depression and whatnot. So Keith would have said like, well, there was no food because of the depression and the war. So we were malnourished. So there were a couple of reasons for it, but the good news is that once people like Willie Dixon came along and went, hey, that's my song. Hey, that's my song. Deals were made, and those people made a ton of music. And we, very young teenagers in America, were exposed to some of the most stunning music we would ever hear. And then we went back and began to dig into the files of all these great artists like Willie Dixon, Blind Lemon Jefferson, Howlin' Wolf. The list goes on and on. That led bands like Led Zeppelin and Eric Clapton and Cream and other groups exposed us to without us even knowing about it. So, Paul Goldschmidt, bobblehead. I got that for you tonight. autographed Led Zeppelin. I'm going to show it to you again. You guys don't seem too impressed. I got to be honest with you. Yeah, it's okay if you're not. But look, that is cool. All right. That is very cool. So, that is your autograph. That's your bonus, the bobblehead. Now let's get into what music we're going to recommend this evening. We're going to go a little bizarre here, reaching back to in the late 60s. Here's an album I bought when I was 12 years old. I still have the album. Bought it when I was 12. Still have it. Okay, here it is. You see that album cover? Kind of cool looking. You guys see it? Kind of cool looking. Show you the back because the backs are always kind of fun too. Pictures of the musicians. So what album is this, ladies and gentlemen? This is by a group called the Amboy Dukes. The Amboy Dukes took their name from an actual pretty serious street gang in New York in the 1930s, I believe. By a band called the Amboy Dukes. The cover is a bunch of hash pipes, to be honest with you, or pipes to smoke marijuana with. That's what's on the cover. Let me show it to you again. See a good look. You see that? So, and I'm sorry, on ComedySchoolsRadioNetwork.com you can't see it, but Craig Jacobs says, love the bobblehead. I collect them and have an Alice Cooper one. I'll show you sometime. Hey, please post a picture of it, Craig. We'd love to see it. Excuse me. Doing yard work today. Breathing a lot of dust. The name of this album is A Journey to the Center of the Mind. Journey to the Center of the Mind, which was a very psychedelic, trippy song from 1967. Leave your cares behind and come with us to the pleasures of the center of the mind. And it was one of those songs that they thought it was cool to make like song music bounce between speakers. So it'd only be coming out of one speaker and then the other speaker, the way they engineered it. And if you were high on dope, it tripped you out. What? Okay, not what, but who was the lead guitarist for the Amboy Dukes? None other than the redoubtable Ted Nugent. As a young man, he was in a band called the Amboy Dukes, which later on became Ted Nugent and the Amboy Dukes, and later on just Ted Nugent. The personnels were Andy Solomon, Greg Arama, Steve Farmer on drums, on rhythm guitar, Dave Palmer on drums. John Drake was the vocalist, pretty good vocalist. Ted Nugent, lead guitar. Journey to Center of Mind was a big rock station hit. And it had other trippy, like sort of 60s psychedelic music titles like Why is a Carrot More Orange Than an Orange? They actually named a song that, recorded the song, and sold it via this album. But if you want to hear a great example of 60s psychedelic rock, and that includes bands like the Electric Prunes, Strawberry Alarm Clock, listen to Journey to the Center of the Mind by the Amboy Dukes. Now, at that point, it wasn't Ted Nugent, the Amboy Dukes. Stephanie Lee Branham says, nice suit. So, there is a member of the Ramirez family, Ramirez-Lowe Branham family, who likes the jacket. Okay, so that's right, Gary. It was a KC classic. Hello, Shelley Austin. So that's our first album. Just, Google or YouTube Journey to Center of Mind, and you'll hear a perfect example of late 60s, what was called psychedelic music. Psychedelic music. Things hadn't really quite settled in yet into the rock format. And the great bands of the 60s hadn't really quite come in their own yet. And you get to hear a sound that was only made during that time and isn't made anymore. Bands like Strawberry Alarm Clock, Electric Prunes, and the Amboy Dukes' first album. Check them out. You'll hear a completely very cool sound if you have never heard it before. And if you grew up with it, go back and visit it again. Also, I think Status Quo, the English band, with their song Pictures of Matchstick Men. A lot of cool 60s psychedelic music. Our second album. Here it is. You see that? A lot of you already know what that is. Okay, that's a snake on a red background. Here's the band. Looking pretty weird. What album is this? This is Killer by Alice Cooper. Now, interestingly, Alice Cooper originally wasn't Vince Furnier. the lead singer, that was the name of the band. He somehow then took on the persona of Alice Cooper. But Killer was a great album. It has my all-time 13 Floor Elevators. You're right, Stephanie. It's another great psychedelic band. Dickie Palmer says Strawberry Alarm Clock had a guitarist. They went on to co-write Southern Rock anthem. He specifically wrote the iconic beginning riff. Oh. I'm trying to think, Dickie, and I don't have it, man. Southern Rock anthem. Sweet Home Alabama. I'm going Sweet Home Alabama. Okay? I'll go with that. Okay? For Dickie Palmer put up Stephanie Lee Branham says, yeah. Craig Jacobs says, have you met Alice Cooper? Yes, I have met Alice Cooper. I met him. I used to teach my workshops at a production studio in North Scottsdale, up by the air park. And we shot commercials there. I worked with the production company as well. My wonderful friend Brad Michelson's production company. We made a little web TV show together. And Alice was there shooting a PSA one time, and I met him. Okay, shook his hand. I was correct, Dickie. That was just a guess. And the guess was off of you saying that he specifically wrote the iconic beginning riff. And when I think of Southern rock anthems, Sweet Home Alabama it's not Skinner's greatest song. Freebird is. We all got sick of listening to it about a year after it came out because that's all we ever heard. But a stunning piece of work, Freebird. But Sweet Home Alabama, man, that was a game changer. I can't believe I guessed that. I have met Alice Cooper. I did guess right. I did not know that the guitarist from Strawberry Alarm Clock wrote that. I do know that a guy who played on Highway 61 Revisited with Bob Dylan he may have discovered and also produced Leonard Skinner, and that, of course, is Al Cooper. Shelley Austin says, Strawberry Alarm Clock played at our high school. Man, when I was a little kid, 12 and something, I love that song, Incense of Peppermint. Ed King. It was Ed King. That's right. He was with Strawberry Alarm Clock. What's weird is how people would so identify with certain kind of music. I like this music, but that music's shit. I like this music, but that music is crap. And how closely related all the musicians are, either by agency or management or record company, are jumping around from different. That the guy who played the opening organ riff on Like a Rolling Stone was the producer of at least of Leonard Skinner's first two albums. Is something that stuns people sometimes. And also the same guy created Blood, Sweat, and Tears, Al Cooper. Stephanie Brownham says, hi, Mom.
I said hi.
Okay, good. All right. So we were talking Alice Cooper. We could talk more stuff. This song, Under My Wheels, is one of the greatest, I think, pop rock songs ever. The telephone is ringing. Dun, dun, dun. You got me on the run. Be My Lover's great. Every song on here. Halo of Flies was not one of my favorites, but a good one. Desperado, same thing. You Drive Me Nervous, very popular. Okay, yeah, popular. Dead Babies, of course, and Killer. But my favorite on this was Under My Wheels. That's right, Al Cooper. We were talking about Al Cooper. Right now we're talking about Alice Cooper. We can talk Al Cooper. I don't care. I saw the Alice Cooper Killer tour, and it was nothing like a 16-year-old boy on amphetamines had ever seen before, because Alice Cooper brought Broadway to rock and roll. And in that, on the stage, he had himself hung, or maybe it was a guillotine. I can't remember. Seems like you would remember the difference between a guillotine and being hung. But it was a massive stage production. Not massive, but a real stage production with fake blood, hanging, and a whole sort of theatrical act out. Something that people like Meatloaf did later on to great effect as well. But we loved Alice Cooper. Loved him a lot. He is an icon here in Arizona. He is a Phoenix native. For years, he had his own place here, Alice Cooper Town. He is known, revered, and loved in all of Arizona, and still in the hearts and minds of anybody who was around when he came out with Killer and other great albums from that era. You're right, Diggy. It was a solid stage show. So we talked about Journey to Center Mind. We talked about Alice Cooper. Yeah, I showed you my autographed Led Zeppelin. It's not everybody in Led Zeppelin. It is Jimmy Page and Robert Plant. And I also showed you my Paul Goldschmidt bobblehead. A lot of fun stuff. You're going to want to tune in tomorrow at 2 and Monday at 2 as well, as I get ready to announce the next live Zoom shows that you will be able to attend, live stand-up comedy shows on Zoom for your viewing and listening pleasure. Those will be coming up. So you want to listen to that. Oh, I forgot the Steve Jones Sex Pistols story. Okay. By the way, if any young children are listening right now, they should probably go in the other room because it does contain certain language that may be inappropriate for kids. Huh? Young listeners. So I became friends with a musician in the mid-'80s. He was just a funny guy. At first, I didn't know he was a musician. But I became friends. He was kind of a broke guy. Then I found out he was a musician. And he's with some band called Checkered Past that also had Tony Sales, son of Soupy Sales, bass player for Rick Springfield, and later on with David Bowie and Tin Machine. Michael DeBar, who also became a friend of mine much later. Great stories about Michael. But this story is about Steve Jones and the Sex Pistols. So I became friends with Steve. And he was a funny guy, talked like this, how you doing, wanker? What's going on? Everything's good. I got no money. I'm broke. And all I knew is that he was a musician. And I used to tease him whenever I see him and go, hey, didn't you used to be in the Buckinghams? Go, yeah, that's right. That's me. I was in the Buckinghams. One time I teased him and go, hey, didn't you used to be in the Knack? He goes, oh, be cool. Right over there at the table. We're in a restaurant. He goes, that's the lead singer of the Knack sitting over there. Such is the world of Hollywood. People on their way up, people who are at top, people on the way down, people in waiting rooms getting ready to move back onto the main stage. Steve Jones. And I was reminded of Steve a couple months ago when I was in Los Angeles driving a rental car, and I turned on 95.5 KLOS, one of the big rock stations there. And there was a show on, the afternoon show was Jonesy's Jukebox. He's now a DJ. If you ever wonder what happened to Steve Jones and Sex Pistols, he's a record producer and a DJ on a venerated rock station in Los Angeles. So we became pals. And one day, he and I were in a restaurant. We just became pals. I thought he was funny. He thought I was funny. We just hit it off. And one afternoon, we're having lunch in a restaurant someplace in Hollywood. And someone comes up and goes, could I just get your autograph? He says, oh, all right, yeah, of course you can. And he gave them their autograph. And so 2 people did it during the course of lunch. And finally, I look at him and I go, and this is all, I've only known him a few weeks. And there's other people we hung out with. That day, we were waiting for people. And I said, who were you, man? He goes, and we talked music all the time, and he was a rocker. And he goes, well, I was in a band. I was embarrassed to bring it up to you because I thought you might not like it because, knowing your taste in music, you might have not cared for us. I go, okay, then what band was it? He goes, I was the guitarist in Sex Pistols. Never the Sex Pistols, Sex Pistols. And I went, no, shit, you. Yeah, that's me. Yeah, I was in that band. He goes, I'm broke right now. We're suing the manager. We don't got a penny. They eventually had something successful in that lawsuit, but Malcolm had ripped them off totally. And the guy was bust. He was kind of couch surfing, but he was on his way back. And because he was a good musician, he started sitting in on other people's records. He was recovering from serious drug and alcohol issues, as was I at the time. Kind of the connection there without revealing too much. So we became pals. Steve Jones of Sex Pistols was my friend. Many years later, well, not many, like 3. I'm in New York City doing stand-up comedy, $25 a night, $100 a night. I'm doing gigs in New Jersey. I'm being driven over to New Jersey to work sports bars as a comic in New Jersey, then coming back into New York and running around doing all the showcase clubs till 3 o'clock in the morning. I did the Comedy Cellar once. Dangerfield was kind of like, and I would live in these rat traps in New York and spend hardly any money just run around doing comedy for weeks at a time. And I'd live in Times Square when Times Square was like absolutely horrid, but at the same time, wonderful and beautiful. And it was a great time in my life. It was, some days were rough. I'm going, I got $5 till I get paid, not tonight, but tomorrow night. I'm living in places with a bathroom down the hall. But I see that the Kinks are going to be playing New York at a place called Caroline's by the Seaport, and the opening act is Steve Jones. I go, oh, wow, Jonesy's going to be in New York. So I find a payphone, and I call. I had his number in a little book. You just keep numbers in the book, quarters. Hello, what's up? Hey, Steve, it's me, Anthony. Anthony, how are you, mate? What are you doing? I go, I'm in New York, man, and I see that you're playing down at you're opening for the Kinks. He goes, yeah, we got to get gigs. I got this band, but I got to play. I said, I'd love to see you. He goes, are you in New York? And I go, he goes, all right, okay. He goes, he told me what to do. He goes, watch your show and then come backstage. I go, all right. And he told me what to say. So I watched his show, and I watched him, and he was very, very good. He brought someone on stage to sing Anarchy in the UK. So it was big outdoor, several thousand people right down on the Hudson River. And I'm kind of sitting towards the back, but I'm watching, and I'm having a good time watching my buddy play guitar. And people are going, play Sex Pistol shit, motherfucker. And he's trying to play his own music. And I goes, all right, you want Sex Pistol? And he looks at somebody else and says, who are you? What's your name? Bob. Come up here, Bob. He goes, all right, now you're Bob Rotten. You're Bob Rotten. And he goes, you know the words Anarchy in the UK? He goes, you bet I do, man. All right, you're going to be the singer. You're Bobby Rotten. And they played Anarchy in the UK, and it was a big hit. And that was his last song, and then he got off. Then the Kinks came on, and the Kinks were fantastic. They were fantastic. So it's time to go back. Okay. So I find my way back. It's not backstage like indoors, backstage outdoors. There's a gate, and I'm there trying to explain to the security guy. I go, I was invited back here by Steve Jones, the lead guitarist, the opening act, and I'm trying to explain it to him. And then Steve sees me and goes, I know that wanker. Let him in. And I'm sitting back in a trailer with all the musicians from Steve's band and Steve. Okay. It's fantastic. Great. So I didn't meet the Kinks. And it turned out the Kinks were not being real nice to him. This is kind of common a lot of times. I heard, for instance, that when Bob Dylan and Merle Haggard toured together, Bob Dylan did not talk to or acknowledge Merle Haggard once. But that's a different story. And that they only let him use half the sound system. They didn't want, they wanted to, have it all themselves. So now I go out and I am hanging out with Steve Jones and his band in New York City. And we're taking cabs and we're going and we're eating dim sum. And I'm sober and Steve's off heroin. And I think the drummer was sober. And we're just going from club to club. And finally Steve goes, well, let's go to the Limelighter. And Limelighter was in an old church. Oh, we went to an old church, and we're at the Limelighter, which used to be a Catholic church, and now it's a disco. And then Steve goes, this is boring. Let's go to the Ritz. And we go to this old bombed-out movie theater somewhere. I don't even know where we are. And we're up on the balcony, and I think the band Fear was on stage, Leaving and Fear. And Steve and I are standing on the stage, and it's all these kids that are pasty white with the spiked hair and safety pins through their nipples and leather jackets with no shirt, and they're stage diving, and it's madness. It's bedlam. And Steve and I are just standing there watching it. And he's looking at this, and he looks at me and goes, it's crazy, isn't it? And I go, yeah. Steve Jones of the Sex Pistols in the balcony at a Fear concert at the bombed-out, dilapidated Ritz Theater in New York, watching people shooting up in the corner, people jumping off the stage, madness reigning, and he looks around, the lead guitarist of the Sex Pistols goes, it's crazy, isn't it? I go, yeah, it is. And then I looked at him, I go, and you started it. And he got a look in his eyes, kind of funny for a second. He goes, I suppose we did. He goes, but was never the plan. He goes, I was a rocker. I wanted to play rock. I wanted to play hard riffs. Okay, Malcolm was the one who came on with that punk shit, and we were punks and dressed us up that way and all that sort of thing. And the whole thing just kind of took off and got away from us. I go, wow. I said, so you want to be a rocker? He goes, yeah. He goes, look, when I was a kid, there were two things I was good. He goes, you got to understand, in England, we were poor. He goes, rock and roll was the way out. That was it. There was no other way out. He goes, we were starving. He goes, it was Thatcher's England, and we were hungry. He goes, and the only way out was, he goes, I knew how to do two things well. And it was steal cars and play the guitar. I could either be a car thief or a rock and roller? I go, oh. And he goes, and I discovered I got more blow jobs when I played the guitar. And I said, so a whole genre of music based around the fact that you could get blowjobs. He goes, yeah, I suppose so. Yes. About that time, the manager of the club came over with this girl who you could tell was pretty under a whole bunch of stuff, but was totally punked out. And he goes, Mr. Jones, this is Sheila. And Sheila would consider an honor, sir, if you would let her blow you. And he kind of looked at her and goes, I would love to let her do that. That's very kind of you. But right now I'm here talking with my friend Anthony, and perhaps some other time. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is my Alan Chamberlain. Hello. Peggy Witzke. Hello. That is my Steve Jones Sex Pistols story from 1988. I hope Steve doesn't mind me telling it. Great, great guy. Great guy. I miss him. I miss all of you. Okay. But I get to connect with you a little bit right here on Facebook Live every day at 2 p.m. except Saturday night at 7. So make sure that you pop back in tomorrow at 2. In the next couple of days, I'll be announcing our first live Zoom show that you'll be able to attend, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm going to make it a fun show. I will headline the show. I'll tell you who the comics will be on the first show. The comics on the first show will be Travis Miner, Abhinav Goyal, and DJ Payne, and I will headline it. It will either be in 1 week or 2. Watch for announcements on my Facebook page, and of course here. We got to go. We don't want to go, but we got to go. All right. You stay safe. You stay sane. And by the way, if you ever thought about doing a stand-up comedy workshop and working with me on Zoom, and I would love that, go to comedyschools.com and sign up for my beginning stand-up comedy workshop that's starting this Tuesday at 6 p.m. All right. That's it. Diggy Bummer says, me no BJ's at the chop shop. Yeah, nothing. No, Diggy, no. All right, guys, I got to go. For my producer, happens to be my wife, Shirley Lowe Vicich, I want to thank you for watching Living on a Thin Line right here on Facebook Live, YouTube, Comedy Schools channel, and of course, ComedySchoolsRadioNetwork.com. Till tomorrow at 2. Bye-bye. All right. YouTubers, thanks for watching. Happy Saturday. Happy Saturday. Happy Saturday. Had the family watching?
Stephanie and was Vince watching?
Yeah.
Good show.
Thanks.
Oh.
Little Roscoe, you got your feet under the. You got the. Give me the cufflink box on. Thanks for producing it.
You're welcome. I didn't mean to get on.
I know the tedium of being married to someone like me. I've seen it on 100 comics' wives and girlfriends' faces. I know that weird thing that we do sometime when we're in a terrible mood, and all of a sudden we kick into that. It's like, what the fuck is that?
Well, sometimes maybe the women just get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah. Well, someone explained it one time too. And I go, it's kind of a weird kind of world because it's the guy who's like the peacock. Although I don't look at myself that way, but they were just explaining it, and they're getting the kind of attention you usually get if you're like, I don't know. Anyway, look, I enjoy doing this every day. It gives us something to do,
Mhm.